Now, whether you're a novice landlord just starting out or an experienced portfolio landlord, it makes sense to get a variety of different inputs. And today I'm delighted to welcome Ant Lyons, who is the editor and co-founder of Your Property Network magazine. And Ant is joining me on Skype. So welcome, Ant.
Hello there. Hi, Vanessa.
Hi. Good place to start, really. Tell us a little kind of potted history of the magazine, where you came from and where you are now.
Yeah, sure. Well, we're coming up to our next sort of landmark, I suppose, will be 6.5 years publishing the magazine. The first issue was in July 2008, which seems about 5 minutes and a million years ago at the same time.
I know what you mean.
Just flies. And the idea behind it really came from I've been sort of buying a few properties for myself and for other people in a format that you just couldn't do anymore, that the credit crunch sort of put an end to. And up until that point, I thought I knew about property. I thought I knew how to make money in property. And things changed, and all of a sudden I found myself sort of scratching my head thinking, okay, well, what do we do now? And then my business partner and I, Mike, thought, well, we can't be the only people in this situation. Perhaps we could put something out there to inform other people like us and people who are getting into property and to showcase what other people were up to and how they were making money out of property. And also to, I guess, to kind of cover some of the downsides as well. What can go wrong, why it can go wrong, and how you can avoid, I guess, making what in hindsight quite often appear elementary mistakes, but you don't see them at the time. So that's where it came. That's where the idea came from. And 6.5 years in, we're still printing, and people seem to like it.
No, it's a great achievement. And I think just touching a little bit on what you said, it's not necessary for people to embark on these really expensive mentoring and seminar courses when there's so many low-cost options. I see what Property Tribes and YPN do. We're low cost, or in our case free, options for people to dip their toe in the water and really see if property's for them.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I have lots and lots of friends that that wouldn't really dream of getting into property, and it's not for them at all. And I don't blame them at all, because there are risks involved. I think, as property investors and as landlords, we mitigate as many of those risks as we possibly can, but we take them on board, and we're probably prepared to do what other people won't do. Most of my friends that are not really into it live in the corporate lifestyle and that kind of thing. But yeah, I can completely agree. I do think there's a place for the sort of paid for education, and but it tends to be for people who really want to achieve huge amounts in a very short period of time. My own property journey probably couldn't be described like that. I've been a sort of slow portfolio growth, I guess.
And would you really say that your kind of content, I think it has quite an entrepreneurial flair to it. As you said, landlords are kind of lateral thinkers. They're willing to take on the financial risk of a tenant not paying the rent. So I think that dictates a kind of entrepreneurial flair, but also to have a business kind of approach to investing in property. How would you say your content is presented? Yeah,
I'd say it's driven quite a lot by me as the editor, and the best way I can describe it really is I'm the guy who doesn't get invited back to many dinner parties because I'm hugely nosy about how people make money. And it's a bit of a taboo in the UK to talk about money, and so I'm always the person that will sort of lean forward and say, how much money did you make last year? Or how did you make your money? Or how much was your house worth? Or did you lose money last year? And these are all the things that make my wife sort of cringe with embarrassment. And but they're all the things that I can get away with doing in my day job, and asking the questions that people might be afraid to ask. If you're in a networking event or even on a forum, sometimes you don't want to be the person that asks, what might seem a daft question or a nosy question. I'm the guy that'll ask it.
Well, in property, the devil is in the detail, and one of the things I like about YPN is that you do go into quite a lot of detail. You have case histories, you have refurbishment diaries, so it's very much kind of working landlord kind of stuff, everyday stuff, but presented in a way that can help newbies understand the different methods.
Yeah, that's right. It's kind of divided into two areas, really, the content. So we have a sort of panel of, I suppose, sort of expert writers. So we have my tax accountant that writes in there, and my solicitor, and we have a planning consultant, and very experienced landlords that work for landlord associations that cover those more sort of professional elements of being a long-term property owner and landlord. But the bits I really love are interviewing everyday people. And sometimes they're people who've been in the business 30 years, and sometimes they're people who've been in it 6 months or a year. And generally speaking, you find out a little bit about what makes them tick, what drives them, the strategy that they've chosen, the difficulties that they faced along the way, and what the reality was. I think sometimes if you read the headlines in YPN, and like on many forums, sometimes you could be forgiven that thinking it's a bit of sort of get rich quick, and that wouldn't be fair really to the people who've put in the many hours of work and sweat and fear that they go through to get to just a little bit further along the journey.
Sure, absolutely. So just to finish, Ant, what would you say are your kind of plans for YPN moving forward? Because I know that you're always looking to raise the game, innovate, bring in new features. What have you got in the pipeline?
Yeah, well, I guess 18 months ago, I got sick of getting emails from people saying, I love the magazine, but I don't get time to read it. So we introduced the audio interviews, where we changed the way that we produced the magazine, and we recorded probably 5 or 6 hours of audio recordings every month, so people can, if they don't get time to read it, they can download the full interview. We then introduced an app version of the magazine that you can get through iTunes, and the next development for us is going to be in producing video content of actually touring around the properties, the before and after pictures. So anyone that's a member can have a look at that. We've got another product that we're going to bring online probably in the next 3 months that will help people find property deals for themselves, to sort of shortcut the process a little bit. And really more of the same. Our big push is always in sort of introducing more people to the magazine. We have an amazing take-up rate. If I show the magazine to 10 people, 3 or 4 of them end up as subscribers. And I think the British public have a love affair with property, and really our duty is to sort of to show them the reality of it, to take where programs like Homes Under the Hammer and other programs like that, which I'm a huge fan of, where they sort of leave off and really drill into the sort of financial aspects and the financial realities of whether or not it's being a landlord, letting property out, or trading property, buying and selling, whatever it might be. So that's what's next for us.
Well, fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us on Property Tribes TV. And as we've been saying, a magazine is a good low-cost way to get a broad flavour of what's going on in property, and to be regularly updated as well. So get your inputs from all sorts of different sources. I'm sure you'd agree, Ant.
Yeah, I would. And our subscription is currently £6.95 a month, and some people say, well, that sounds quite expensive. And I was thinking, well, it's the cost of 2 cups of coffee if I go into Costa or wherever, and if I were to learn something that maybe saved me £5,000-10,000 or in tax, or from making a wrong investment decision, or made me £20,000, £30,000, £40,000, then it's a minuscule investment, and I think most of our readers would agree. And sometimes it can shortcut the learning process because it's kind of presented to people in quite an easy to read format.
Brilliant. Well, thanks so much for joining us, Ant. We've been talking to Ant Lyons of Your Property Network magazine.